Nearly every animal on this planet hides where it is looking, so why are you built to advertise it? Kobayashi and Kohshima went through 88 primate species, photographs, video stills, and preserved eyeballs, and sorted every eye by how much the tissue around the iris is pigmented. They found 4 types. 3 of them are built to conceal the gaze. Only the 4th type broadcasts it, and exactly 1 species landed in that 4th group. You are looking at its eyes right now, in whatever surface you last checked your face in. Almost every animal alive has a camouflaged gaze. A dark eye on a dark face gives away nothing. You cannot tell whether the animal is watching your hands, your throat, or the horizon behind you. You have the opposite arrangement. A dark center on a bright white field, which turns your eye into an arrow. So that's the what. Here's the why, and it starts with the most obvious thing nobody notices. You can tell where a person is looking from across a room. Not their head, their eyes. You can watch someone's face stay perfectly still and their attention slide off you and onto something behind your shoulder, and you will turn around. Try that with a dog, or a chimpanzee, or a bird, and you are mostly guessing. Sarah, how early does that start in a person?
Before language, which is the part that still gets me. There's a well-known experiment on this from Tomasello and colleagues, comparing great apes with human infants. Someone looks up at the ceiling, but in one version, they turn their whole head, and in another they move only their eyes and keep the head still. The apes mostly follow the head, human babies follow the eyes. So before a child can say a single word, it is already reading the one part of the face that every other primate keeps hidden.
And that behavior has a name, joint attention. I look at something, you follow my look, and then the strange bit, I know that you are looking, and you know that I know. 2 minds locked onto one object, on purpose. Which is the foundation under almost everything we do. Pointing at something only works if you follow my finger and my gaze. Teaching only works if I can check what you are looking at. Otherwise, I am talking about one thing while you study another, and neither of us finds out. Handing a tool to a child, warning someone about a snake, agreeing on which animal to chase, all of it runs on the assumption that eyes are readable. And it is the checking that does the heavy lifting. A teacher who cannot see where a student's attention went cannot correct it. So joint attention is not a nice extra on top of learning. It is the mechanism that lets one mind hand something to another and confirm it arrived. So the classic explanation writes itself, and it has a name, the cooperative eye hypothesis, developed by Tomasello and colleagues. The claim is that the human eye is a social instrument. It exists to show intention. And the logic underneath it is genuinely uncomfortable when you turn it over. Peter, why uncomfortable?
Because a visible gaze is only ever an advantage if you are surrounded by allies. Think about what it actually costs. Every predator that watches you now knows what you have spotted. Every rival knows what you want before you move for it. A readable eye is a gift to a partner and a weapon handed to an enemy, so an animal only evolves one if the individuals around it are, on balance, on its side. That is what makes the white in your eye interesting, Tom. It is not just an eye. It is evidence about the kind of company we were keeping.
And there is experimental support for the mechanism itself. Work testing what is called the gaze signaling hypothesis found that uniformly white sclera does measurably improve how well another individual can read gaze direction, in humans and in chimpanzees. So that would appear to be the answer. Beautiful story, clean logic, real experiments. Which is exactly when this whole field turned on itself. Because a growing group of researchers now think the cooperative eye hypothesis is, at minimum, badly overstated. The first crack is comparative. Quantitative studies of eye shape and color keep failing to find that the human eye is as unique as the story requires. Look closely at chimpanzees and mountain gorillas, and you find animals with a dark sclera and a brighter iris. A strong contrast between the parts of the eye, just inverted from ours. The contrast is there. We are not the only species whose eye stands out against itself. Peter, how serious is this challenge?
Serious enough that in 2021, a study in Scientific Reports concluded that ocular pigmentation across humans, great apes, and gibbons is simply not suggestive of communicative function. And in 2025, a review in Biological Reviews argued the field should look past the cooperative eye hypothesis altogether and rethink human eye appearance from scratch. That is not a footnote in a discussion section. That is a review paper telling a whole discipline it took a wrong turn.
Although, and this matters, there is an active rebuttal literature defending both the gaze signaling and the cooperative eye ideas. This is a live argument between working scientists, not a settled overturn. Nobody has won yet. So that's the surface. underneath it is a much better question than the one we started with. Because notice what the fight is actually about. Nobody is disputing that you can read a human gaze across a room. Nobody is disputing the babies. Those are measurements, and they hold. The disagreement is about direction. Did we lose the pigment around the iris? Because a readable eye helped us cooperate, or did the pigment go for some entirely unglamorous reason? Light conditions, the way skin pigmentation shifted as we moved across the world, plain genetic drift, and cooperation arrived afterwards and made use of what was already lying there. That distinction sounds academic, and it is not. One version says our eyes were shaped by trust. The other says our eyes were an accident that trust moved into, the way a bird moves into a hole it did not drill. And evolution does the second thing constantly. A trait shows up for one reason, sits there doing very little, and then a species finds a completely different job for it. So the humbler story is not the disappointing one. It might simply be the honest one. Sarah, does the answer to that change anything for the person watching?
Honestly, less than you'd expect. And that's the comforting part. Whichever way it went, you still ended up as an animal whose attention is public. A dog can look at your hands and hide it. You can't. Everything you notice, everyone around you gets to see you notice. And we've built our entire social life on top of that. The glance across a table that means we're leaving, the way you can tell someone stopped listening, the eye contact that becomes unbearable after 4 seconds. None of that needs the origin story to be true. It only needs the eye to be readable, and it is.
Which leaves one thing left, and it is the smallest and best piece of evidence in the whole argument. We invented a way to take it back. Sunglasses at a poker table, a visor pulled low, mirrored lenses on a person who does not want to be read. Every one of those is a human being paying money to reinstall the camouflage that every other animal on this planet was simply born with. Think about what that admits. We are the species that cannot hide where it is looking, so much so that when we genuinely need to hide it, we have to manufacture a piece of equipment. Nothing else on Earth needs the equipment. Nothing else was giving the secret away in the first place. And notice where we reach for it. Not at dinner with people we love. At card tables, in negotiations, in interrogations, on the faces of people whose job is to be unreadable. The exact places where the other individuals stop being allies, which is the cooperative eye logic showing up in a completely different form. The moment cooperation drops away, the first thing a human wants back is the camouflage. So the origin stays open, and the field will keep arguing about it, and that argument is a healthy one. It is what science looks like when a beautiful idea meets better measurements. But the argument is only about the beginning. We may never settle why the white arrived. What we did with it, once it was here, is not in question at all. We built teaching, and pointing, and language, and 1,000 silent agreements, on top of the one part of the body that refuses to keep a secret. Someone is going to look at you today, and you will know exactly what they saw.